Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily.
Have never in my life committed sexual battery.
Johnny Depp is back on the stand. Plus,
he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
Supermodel Kate Moss is called to testify. And later, a common objection becomes an internet sensation.
That's hearsay, I guess.
What constitutes hearsay? But first,
I'd hoped when I became president, I would not have to do this again. Another massacre, Uvalde, Texas.
President Biden addresses the nation after the tragic loss of life at an elementary school in Texas. Law&Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm your host, Brian Buckmeyer. We begin with tragic news out of Texas, where nearly 24 students and 2 adults were shot and killed when a gunman entered an elementary school during school hours on Tuesday. The massacre took place at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, a small community about 85 miles west of San Antonio. Officials say the gunman, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos, slaughtered 19 children and 2 teachers as he barricaded himself inside a classroom at the school. Law enforcement broke into the room and killed the shooter, who authorities say used an AR-15 style rifle in the attack. Officials say the gunman legally purchased 2 rifles just days before, soon after his 18th birthday. One rifle he used to carry out the attack, the other was found in a truck near the school. Police say the shooter crashed the truck shortly after shooting and injuring his grandmother before entering the school. A large law enforcement presence surrounded the elementary school for hours as families waited for word on their children. The attack comes just 10 days after 10 people were shot to death in a race-fueled tirade at a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. President Biden delivered remarks on the horrific school shooting in a somber address upon his return to the White House after his first trip to Asia since taking office.
I'd hoped when I became president, I would not have to do this again. Another massacre, Uvalde, Texas, an elementary school. Beautiful, innocent, 2nd, 3rd, 4th graders. And how many scores of little children who witnessed what happened see their friends die as if they're on a battlefield, for God's sake. They'll live with it the rest of their lives. I ask the nation to pray for them, give the parents and siblings the strength in the darkness they feel right now. It's time to turn this pain into action. For every citizen in this country, we have to make it clear to every elected official in this country, it's time to act.
Connecticut Senator Christopher Murphy, who formerly represented the district that included Sandy Hook School District, spoke from the Senate floor Tuesday, pleading for action after the mass shooting in Texas.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Just days after a shooter walked into a grocery store to gun down African-American patrons, we have another Sandy Hook on our hands. Our kids are living in fear every single time they set foot in a classroom because they think they're going to be next. What are we doing? What are we doing? Why are you here? If not to solve a problem as existential as this.
From all of us at Law and Crime, our hearts and prayers are with everyone affected in this tragedy. Local, state, and federal leaders, the community, and of course the families of students and teachers at Uvalde Elementary School. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, day 22 of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Johnny Depp is back on the stand. We're live in Fairfax, Virginia to break down the actor's testimony. Welcome back. Johnny Depp takes the stand once again on day 22 of his defamation suit against ex-wife Amber Heard. Law and Crime Network's Jesse Weber is live in Fairfax County, Virginia, to break down the big moments from Depp's testimony. Jesse?
Hey there, Brian. Yeah, as we come to the conclusion of this trial, this is very much Johnny Depp continuing his rebuttal case. First up, supermodel Kate Moss testified via live video link, and you recall this was expected after Heard opened the door by referencing the Kate Moss stairs incident while she was on the stand, namely that Depp allegedly threw his ex-girlfriend down a flight of stairs. We're going to show you Moss's response to that later on in the program. But from there, forensic psychologist Dr. Shannon Curry came back on the stand and couldn't disagree more with Heard's expert Dr. Dawn Hughes' conclusion that Heard showed signs of PTSD and of being a victim of intimate partner violence. She testified that Hughes misrepresented tests and results and also presented her own opinions and the self-reporting of Heard as facts. But then it was time for Johnny Depp himself to testify once again, and he testified that he hadn't previously seen the statements of his attorney Adam Waldman, which make up Heard's counterclaims, that Heard hit him on the Orient Express, and that he defended himself against some of the more graphic and violent accusations of Amber Heard.
No human being is perfect, certainly not. None of us. But I have never in my life committed sexual battery, physical abuse, all these outlandish, outrageous stories of me committing these things and living with it for 6 years and waiting to be able to bring the truth out. So this is not easy for any of us. I know that, but no matter what happens, I did get here and I did tell the truth, and I have spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years.
Now, let's not forget how important this is, because this is Depp's final direct plea to the jury, because after closing arguments, it's going to be in their hands, Brian.
Yeah, Jesse, question about that. Why do you think Depp chose to take the stand? What does he gain from this? He's already testified once.
Okay, so this is his case, right? It's his final attempt to rebut everything that Amber Heard threw out, including some more of the graphic accusations that she levied against him when she was on the stand. It's his chance to address the counterclaims as well. And let's not forget, Johnny Depp, by all accounts, did a really good job when he testified the first time. So his opinion is probably like, why not just go up again, try again? I have nothing to lose. Yeah.
Now, he testified to some specifics, like you said. He said they had no connection to his lawyer releasing statements. What does that do to Heard's counterclaim?
Well, it's if you believe it, right? So he says that he never saw these statements from Adam Waldman until he was actually sued by Amber Heard. I will say he appeared very evasive in terms of questioning on that. For example, he was very evasive and kind of argumentative about if he ever met with the Daily Mail with Adam Waldman, something that was confirmed by Adam Waldman, and he came back and said, I don't recall that. Now, so the jury might ultimately believe that he didn't have a connection to these statements, or they will believe that he did have a connection to it, and then it becomes a legal question if those statements were in fact defamatory.
Yeah. Now, Jesse, Heard's team wouldn't call Depp in their case, but do you think they made any points with him on cross-examination a second time around?
I do. I think J. Benjamin Rottenborn did a really good job cross-examining Johnny Depp, caught him in inconsistencies, confronted him with kind of these disturbing and impeaching text messages. There were photos, of course, that showed, Johnny Depp's face before he claims Amber Heard actually hit him. So it was kind of a difficult time. He appeared a bit argumentative. It was very different than when he first took the stand, and you could argue that he kind of won that back and forth in exchange with J. Benjamin Rottenborn the first round. But you might be thinking Rottenborn won this second round.
All right, we'll see if he's maybe having second thoughts about going up a second time. But of course, we'll leave that up to the jury. Jesse, stick with us. We'll be back in a second. Coming up on Law and Crime Daily, our comprehensive coverage of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial continues. Highly anticipated witness Kate Moss takes the stand, but does her story match up with Amber Heard's? That's still ahead on Law and Crime Daily. supermodel and Depp's ex-girlfriend, Kate Moss, takes the stand Wednesday, giving a highly anticipated yet brief virtual testimony. Moss testified about the so-called stairway incident when she was dating Depp in the 1990s.
We were leaving the room and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room I slid down the stairs and I hurt my back.
How did you...
And
I apologize, Ms. Moss. Please continue.
and I screamed because I was in because I didn't know what had happened to me and I was in pain, and he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Did Mr. Depp push you in any way down the stairs?
No.
During the course of your relationship, did he ever push you down any stairs?
No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
When he was called to the stand, Depp backed up Moss's testimony with some objections from Heard's team.
Ms. Heard took the story and turned it into a very ugly incident, all in her mind. There was never a moment where I pushed Kate down any set of stairs, yet she's spewed this 3 times before.
Objection, Your Honor. Ms. Heard simply testified that she had heard a rumor, and that's
What's
not
a rumor?
responsive to the question.
Sir, hold on. It's
Sorry.
objection. I'll overrule the objection.
Misstates the facts and evidence.
I'll overrule the objection.
Joining us today is former SWAT and detective Lisa Lockwood, co-host Terry Austin, and Law&Crime's Jesse Weber. Lisa, the push never happened, but it was all a rumor. So what does the jury do with that testimony?
Well, the fact that when Amber took the stand, she was basically saying she had this vision of it happening. So she believed it to be true of, you know, his sister being shoved down the stairs, and she thought, oh my gosh, this is the same thing that happened to Kate. What was important and what Johnny brought forward is the fact that in his marriage, the situation with Kate Moss and the alleged rumors, he was the one who told Amber Heard about the incident and what happened to Kate Moss. So she spun it in a way when she took the stand to help her and help her case to show that there was some type of history with domestic violence. And they haven't been able to bring anybody forward to show that Johnny touched or put his hand on anybody in all of his previous relationships up until he met Amber Heard.
Yeah, maybe Depp's team used that as a credibility argument down the road. Terry, Heard's team chose not to cross-examine Kate Moss. Why do you think that was, and was it a smart move?
Oh, it was definitely a smart move because, listen, she was only called to the stand because Heard mentioned her name. Usually you wouldn't have that kind of testimony because it's not relevant to what actually happened to Heard. It's whatever happened to Kate, but she was allowed on the stand because that door was open. And to cross-examine as far as this witness is concerned, they're not going to get anywhere. Her team is only going to ask her about that incident, and she's not going to deny it. She knows more than anyone else because she was there. So I think it was a good move not to cross-examine Kate and just let her stand as it was.
Yeah, the other point that I would add is there are time limits here. Maybe they're also looking at that clock and saying, I don't have time to cross-examine her. Jesse, you're on the ground in Fairfax, Virginia. What are you seeing that we aren't in this trial?
So this is very much a spectacle, Brian. This is very much an event for many people. I mean, just before we came on today, I observed a verbal altercation between a Johnny Depp supporter and an Amber Heard supporter. There is a breakdown here between people on who they believe in this case. When I go in that courtroom, it is a majority of Johnny Depp supporters and very few Amber Heard supporters. This has become something else. This has changed from when this trial first started into a movement. It has become an event, a circus-like atmosphere, people dressing up. In fact, I observed someone jump into the middle of the street to try to get a high five from Johnny Depp as he was driving away. So as much as we are watching what is happening inside that courtroom, there is so much that is happening outside this courtroom as well. There is a different feeling here, and you have to imagine that, as we keep saying, it is not just the court of law that Johnny Depp is fighting this battle in, but the court of public opinion. As he said on the stand today, no matter the outcome, he wanted to tell his truth and he wanted to tell his story.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jesse, as you're speaking to us, we can literally see the signs, justice for Johnny, passing behind you. Thank you for that great reporting, as always, Jesse. When we come back, a deep dive into the hearsay objection. Depp himself has poked fun at the phrase, but what does it really mean? That's ahead on Law and Crime Daily. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial watchers are quick to know the frequency of objections in this case, primarily to hearsay. Law and Crime Network Sierra Gillespie explains what the objection means and why it's gaining so much traction.
For first-time trial watchers, the number of objections in a civil lawsuit can be startling.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Yes. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Nose. Objection, leading. Sustain. Foundation. Hearsay.
Even plaintiff Johnny Depp picked up on the frequency of a specific objection.
He asked her what she would like for him to cook. That's hearsay, I guess.
Headline, Johnny Depp allegedly showed up drunk to movie premiere, reports say. Did I read that correctly?
Reports say. This is hearsay.
June 21st, 2018.
But what does hearsay really mean? Law and crime legal analyst Dina says prospective attorneys spend months studying the term.
There's the general rule, which is that, if you didn't say it, then it's not good evidence to be presented in court. It's a best evidence type rule. If somebody else said the statement, then they should be the ones testifying to the statement and not you about what you heard. But the thing with hearsay is you have that general rule, and then you have a lot of exceptions to the hearsay rule. And that's why it can be, quite frankly, hard for somebody to follow when certain objections to the hearsay rule get overruled or sustained.
Entertainment attorney Mitra Ahurian breaks down the rule even further.
If I say to you, Amber Heard told me that she was abused, therefore she was abused, I'm offering her statement to me to prove that she was actually abused, and that's not allowed. Instead, I could say that Amber Heard told me she was abused on this date, and I'm not saying it to prove that she was abused, but I might be saying it in response to someone saying, well, why didn't she say anything about it at the time, right? So that's a different purpose for making that same statement.
But as Dahl explains, there are ways around the hearsay rule.
In the example that we saw where Johnny Depp's team was trying to object to hearsay, a lot of times we heard Amber Heard's attorney say, it's not being offered for the truth, right? It's maybe being offered for the state of mind of the witness. And so it's not that the lawyers, I think, don't understand the hearsay rule, but they are trying to get in this, what they think is really good evidence within one of the exceptions to the hearsay rule. And that's why the job of basically the Johnny Depp's team is to kind of hold them to that general rule and say, hey, well, that exception doesn't apply.
Reporting for Law and Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
All right, we're talking out-of-court statements said for the truth of the matter asserted, or hearsay. Let's start with you, Lisa. You've testified in dozens, if not more, trials as a police officer. Why is it so important to build a case not based on hearsay?
Because you need something else that can be substantiated. A rumor, a conversation without that person there to say that this is truthful information just becomes that, just a rumor or a bias. You don't know the loyalty of the person, the incentive. Is it based on revenge? Is there monetary or financial gain? So without that individual there to actually say, yes, I did make those statements, everything else becomes the famous word hearsay. It is just a rumor and you can't use it. You need to have other information. That's why forensics, the texts, the emails, voice recordings, camcorders, all of that is a lot more effective.
Yeah, the way I learned it is basically you can't cross-examine hearsay. You can't verify if it's true. Now, if it's not for the truth, that's what's called non-hearsay, but there are exceptions like present sense impression, dying declarations, the list goes on and on. But there's some strategy to this as well, right, Terry? Because hearsay may not stay on the record, but it may stay in the ear of jurors. What does it mean to say a bell can't be unrung in the context of hearsay testimony?
Well, when a juror is listening to the witness, and frankly, even when the juror is listening to the attorney, they hear what that question is and they hear the answer. You can hear an objection. The judge can even sustain the objection. But if the jury has heard that answer, they're not going to be able to forget it. They're going to think it's the truth. And frankly, many jurors think that these hearsay rules and other rules like lack of foundation, speculation, leading are very burdensome and that they shouldn't be there. They want to hear the truth. They want to hear what the witness has to say. They don't care if it's hearsay. So they're going to hear the answer. They're going to hear those questions, and they're going to keep it in their mind. So when it says you can't unring that bell, it means the jury really has heard it anyway.
Yeah, perfect example. Lisa's got a beautiful little puppy, but that's hearsay, can't use it. We'll see how that works out. Thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.